Ooh.
Yeah. The cider is very...
excited.
Lathered.
Excited?
It's lathered. Oh. Oh. Oh, we cracked her. This might take a minute. Allow me to enjoy my cider while you finish up there, JD.
It was funny.
Mm-hmm.
I like my own jokes. So, our next topic comes from an email that we received. It's regarding Kaylin making Richard put the collar on and how we pretty much dragged her through the fucking mud on that one.
Yeah, we gave her a licks for that.
And it was brought to our attention through this email that it definitely could be seen another way. And I definitely agree with it. And I think a lot of people probably do. I don't even think we were really joking that much, though, because we were all like, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I just think, we were obviously like, hey, fuck Kaylin for that.
We were in Richard headspace, for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was a slight to him, but I think just because of the way we talk about the books, like, we laugh our way through a lot of horrible shit in these books. And I think that's what stuck out to us about the email, because it was written, like, from almost a complete parallel point of view of Kaylin.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys like chuckle. Not that the person who wrote it was in any way inappropriate. Like, we read it and we loved everything she had to say about it. We didn't take it personally at all. But, like, this person got it from Kaylin's point of view. Like, hey, that was awful for her. Even though you guys were blaming her, it was still a struggle
like
that Kaylin had to go through. Right. And she was a victim in that, too. And I think it was easier while we read the book to just be like, yeah, fuck you, Kaylin. But then once we read this email, it was like, holy shit. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. That would have been torture for Kaylin to have to do this awful thing, but for a good reason.
Yeah, she kind of laid it out in a parallel way for us to see, like, hey, if there's somebody that you are really scared for and you feel like you have no other options, you do things that you don't necessarily want to do, and it feels like you're betraying somebody when you do that.
Right.
But it's your only option to save them sometimes. And she came from a very real, raw place with it. And it wasn't a side of the coin that I considered when I was reading it, I don't think. Because I was definitely... it occurred to me, I think.
Yeah.
But Richard's pain, like, overwhelmed the situation. So you couldn't see both sides.
In our view.
Yeah.
Right. But to, like, Kaylin, that was earth-shattering.
Right.
It's time to bring on the tough love, and it was really, really hard for her to do. And, like, she struggled with it through an entire book, and even though she did that, I don't really think we paid that enough attention, because we'd be like, well, she did it, because we probably had a Richard chapter right in front of it, and yeah, like...
We're like, yeah, you miss Richard so much, okay.
Kaylin literally, voluntarily fought a war, because fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
Because there was no Richard.
Yeah, he wasn't there. And this whole book has been her pretty much trying her best to keep trying despite him not being around.
Right.
And getting slapped in the face repeatedly with it. And, she's got a lot of fucking strength that we have been maybe brushing over because Richard is the one we're focusing on all the time. And on that note, kind of, I just want to touch a little bit. I don't want to get deep. I'm not trying to be, like, heavy jade here. We talked about Richard and his, like, almost suicide attempt thing that happened, and me and Nate kind of brushed it off. And I don't want anyone to think that, like, we take those things lightly or anything like that. We all have personal experiences with that type of situation. The only thing is that Richard specifically has not had any type of, like, indication that he has depression.
Like a history.
Like, I think maybe if Kaylin had been the one doing this, I would have been more like, okay, there's a good chance. And I wouldn't have... Because Kaylin has more of a build-up to that in this book. What we were just talking about. Like, she has actual reasons to be super upset.
Yeah, her literal whole upbringing, her whole history is a really, really sad story. And you can see that from Kaylin's point of view, and especially after talking about what we just spoke about.
Yeah.
Like, to where that could be a high-risk kind of situation.
Yeah. And Richard has kind of just been this cannonball, just moving from thing to thing, and he hasn't even sat down to think about his emotions, really. But he definitely has never given any indication of being sad or wanting to kill himself before that, so I think that's why.
Yeah, well, and we literally had a breakdown earlier in the book about how Richard was given the opportunity to grow up with a family who loved him, who nurtured him. He got to skin his knees. He got to learn things. He got to, he had a good childhood.
Yeah. He had a relationship with his grandpa, albeit not knowing.
Right. And I was just going to say, he didn't know that George wasn't his real father, but still, he was fine.
Yeah, his mom died in a fire.
Everybody has struggles,
sad,
right?
Yeah.
And so it's not fair for me to say he was totally fine. Like, that can obviously really fuck you up. Yeah, but I think it seems like he handled it well enough, and he didn't have a bad upbringing.
No.
You know what I mean? Not in the same way that Kaylin was pretty much bred to serve a purpose and then put into that purpose. That could be fucking depressing. And I mean, I guess, I don't know, for all of this stuff, Jade and I just felt like we do laugh our way through a lot of this, but rest assured, we do take it very, very seriously. It's easier, I think, sometimes to laugh because we're doing a podcast and we do want to make it entertaining. But yeah, without saying too much, I think that needed to be said.
Yeah, and I mean, because we get so many emails from you guys giving us so many details about what goes on in your life that has connected you to these books, and we don't want to share too much of it when we get it from you, but...
Yeah, we don't want to put anybody on blast.
The spirit is there through each one of them, like the strength, and it is amazing to read each one, and I take it seriously, and I don't want anyone to ever hear something we say on the show and not think that they are safe when they sent us an email 2 weeks ago saying something about their struggles or something, because we do take everything seriously, and we've all dealt with our own struggles that we don't necessarily want on blast either.
Right. Right.
So, the other thing I wanted to touch on just a little bit is actually a little bit related to Richard, maybe his own trauma that has occurred since we've met him. And that is just the fact that in this book we've kind of seen maybe the end of a cycle that has been presented. And I saw somebody actually talk about this in Reddit the other day about how Denna was abused when she was younger, and then she turned into the abuser. She abused Richard. And then through Richard, she was kind of redeemed, and through Denna, he was saved, and they kind of were able to save each other and break that cycle. And that is a really strong thing, and I know a lot of people pick apart the stuff in this book that has to do with the Mord Sith, and all of the things that they look on as the BDSM connections or whatever, but I think they overlook that particular point, and I thought it was a really, really good one when I read it.
You mean the redemption aspect for both of them?
Yes, they were both victims originally and
of abuse, right?
Yes, and they've both done terrible things, but they've both been redeemed in a way,
right,
through breaking the cycle of violence themselves.
Richard was able to keep a part of himself safe while all that went on. And you have to imagine that Denna had to do maybe something of the same sort.
Yeah,
in a different way, because even though she was totally broken when she was young and she did the same thing to Richard, by the end of it, Denna's not the same person.
No, there's some part of her that was still there.
Right, exactly. She kept a little bit of that safe, and I think that because Richard was able to show her the way, pretty much, and she was able to be forgiven, which is huge, she didn't have to carry that around with her anymore, and she could just lean into hey, I can just be a decent person. Even though I'm dead now, still gonna do that, because it feels that good to do. A lot of times, in an abusive situation, there is no redemption.
Yeah.
something bad happened to you, you let it, not that you let it, I don't want to give that impression, but like it changes you and you lean into that change, and that's just the way you are for the rest of your life. And you never question that. And that's not your fault. But like Denna was able to recognize that, hey, this happened to me. This isn't me. This is a thing I'm dealing with. And she was able to get on top of it. And like, okay, again, she's dead, but like she was able to fix that, to get better, to rejoin society as a person, and it doesn't have to be a definition of her.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't erase what she did, but it does. She is not doing it anymore. I mean, obviously, again, she's dead, but it stopped her abusing. Richard has stopped the cycle because the abusee has not become the abuser again.
Right.
And then he also went on to break the chains of all the other abusers in the building also.
He stopped all of it.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know. I don't think that I ever really considered the weight of that either.
It's massive. And I mean, even in terms of today's, like, cancel culture, you could say, just because you say you're a criminal, you know, something happens and you go to jail and then you've repaid your debt to society. You get to rejoin society. You aren't canceled. But in an abusive relationship like this, that person essentially cancels themselves. She's too far gone off the deep end, and he was being abused and couldn't do anything about it. So the cycle it has to keep going. There's no way to stop it. And in this situation, it was stopped. And now they both get to come up and have some air and like, oh shit, I can reevaluate myself and then like live a healthy life.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah.
And be okay, which is very, very important.
Very powerful thing. Yeah. Okay, so another email that we got.
For some levity.
That I was like super happy about. Had to do with my theory about Scarlett's pregnancy, which I think was a good one, because, you know, dragons are super rare and everything. So this person said that some animals, such as armadillos, and I don't know if anybody on this podcast knows, but I like armadillos.
They are Jade's favorite thing.
I think they're pretty fucking cool. I don't, like, they're weird. They're fucking weird.
If you guys want to listen to the first time Jade saw an armadillo in real life, I highly suggest that you get on our Patreon page, because we took a trip to the zoo and it was like very Harry Potter themed, but we're inside and seriously, there's like a 1.5-minute clip where Jade sees an armadillo for the first time.
There's a video somewhere.
And a video! Holy shit, we have a video! And Jade loses her mind. Maybe we'll just find that and post that. You know what? I think we did post a snip of it on the Instagram. But yeah, the whole thing is pretty magical. I'm sorry, I'll shut up now. But it's amazing. It's Jade's favorite thing ever. They roll into balls and she just squeals with joy.
I'm actually very sad because our local zoo had armadillo babies this last year. And because of coronavirus, we only went one time, and the line was fucking ridiculous to get in the armadillo place, and I didn't know about the babies. So I was like, I'm not waiting in a fucking 2-hour line at the zoo, because that's not what I do. I don't do that. So I didn't, and then I got online when I got home and found out about the babies, and I'm really mad, because they're not going to be babies by the time we go back.
And had Jade known that there were baby armadillos in that room, I was going to say, you either would have waited or nobody would have stopped you. You would have pulled a Richard, gotten to the front of the line, and that would have been it.
I would have just made you keep delivering me beer and nachos and cheese fries to the fucking line.
No, I'm good. Give me more nachos. You got the kids, hon? Thanks.
Yeah, you guys go ahead.
That would have been it.
Okay, but this person said that armadillos delay their pregnancies. So, I have so many questions. Okay, anyways, basically like preserving the fetus until the situation is ideal. Minimum stress, good amounts of food, you know, all that shit that would make for a good, like, baby environment. So, this person said that they were thinking maybe Scarlett did that. Maybe after Gregory was born, she had another egg in there, but she didn't decide to, like, pop it out yet. She was gonna just, like, keep it in until she was calm. and then it popped